Welcome back to Tech Radar. I'm Matt Phillips, and I'm joined today by our gaming editor, Vic Hood. How you doing, Vic?
I'm doing good, Matt. How are you?
I'm very well indeed, because today we are running down the top 5 games we would recommend that you play right now on Xbox Game Pass. But a couple of things before we get into it. First of all, the first link in the description is going to send you to our full list. I think there are 30 games on the full list of games we think you should be playing on Game Pass right now. Worth checking out if any of the games we talk about today don't suit your needs. But also down there will be buying links for Game Pass itself and all of the games we're going to talk about on as many platforms as we can find. Obviously, some of these games are exclusive to Xbox, so they won't be in there on PlayStation or whatever. But a lot of them won't be, so if you want to find the best deal in your area, it's worth checking out those links down in the description below. Remember, we are Tech Radar, supported by you, our audiences, so they are affiliate commission links, so do go check out those deals and help support us. We appreciate that very, very much. But right now, Vic, let's jump straight into it. I'm excited about this one. Obviously, Game Pass, a service that's relatively new for Xbox, the Netflix of video games, if you like. If you're already subscribed, you have all these games at your fingertips, right? So why not try them out?
Yeah, Game Pass is a fantastic service. Like you said, it's essentially Netflix for games. So you pay, I think they have some good introductory kind of trials, I guess,
for sure,
where you can get either Xbox Game Pass or Ultimate, which will give you access to kind of cloud gaming and able to jump between PC and console, for example. But they have like an entry, like $1 or £1 for your first month or something like that. So it's a great time to get involved because there's just hundreds of games on there. There's too many games to even get through before there's new ones landing.
Exactly. And one of the things that excites me about it is, what it's allowed me to do is try out a load of different genres, right? And the first one we're going to be talking about today, Resident Evil 7, is exactly that for me. I never really touched the Resident Evil series growing up, but 7 being on Game Pass is such a great entry point for the series. So tell us a little bit about Resident Evil 7, Vic, your history with it, and why you think people should be playing it right now.
So it's similar to you, where I didn't grow up playing Resident Evil games because I wasn't really allowed to play scary games. So my first entries to the series were kind of the remakes. So after I finished 2 and 3, those remakes, I was looking for, my Resident Evil fix, essentially. Yeah. And I found 7 was on Game Pass, which is fantastic. So in 7, you play as Ethan, whose wife goes missing. So you end up going to kind of the back ends of nowhere in a hunt for your wife to this kind of creepy house where this kind of creepy family lives. And you have to contend with each member of this kind of creepy Chainsaw Massacre type family. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but essentially it keeps those same like minimal combat. There is combat in there, but mostly you're solving puzzles and just trying to progress through the story. And for me, like, there's a few of the entries in the middle of the series that I haven't played, but I didn't feel like I had missed out. Like I could still keep up with the story quite a bit.
For sure.
So yeah, it's a great entry, and of course Village is about to come out a couple of months, and it's a continuation straight on from the end of 7. So if you want to play Village, you should probably play 7. Doesn't matter if you haven't really played the others, play 7, finish it so that you know what's going on, because Ethan is again the main protagonist in 8 or Village.
I think that's a really interesting point, right? Like, something to reiterate is this is a great jumping on point, even though it is Resident Evil 7. Ethan is a brand new character. They've gone to a first-person view, which is something that's relatively new for Resident Evil, and so the gameplay feels fresh as well. And yeah, like you say, Village is on the horizon. A lot of people very, very excited for that game, and so worth checking out Resident Evil 7 before you jump in. As well, it works as a great kind of demo, if you like, for Resident Evil 8, right? We know that game's obviously going to not be on Game Pass at launch, and so if you're unsure as to whether or not you want to pick up Resident Evil 8, playing Resident Evil 7 on Game Pass is an absolute no-brainer. And moving on then to our second pick that we think you should be playing on Game Pass right now, it's Doom Eternal. Again, the first Doom game I ever picked up, and so we're super excited to see it on Game Pass. Vic, tell us a little bit about Doom Eternal, why people should be playing it.
So Doom Eternal is like where Resi is, combat's fairly minimal. Doom Eternal is absolutely fast-paced action. The story's there. It doesn't matter that much, but if you just want to gun down like demons while like heavy metal music is playing in your ears, it is fantastic. It's such a good release. And so you're the Doomslayer, this time taking a trip to Mars. taken out all these variety of demons that we've seen before, demons that we've seen this time. Again, it's a game you don't have to have played the others to really, no. It doesn't take long to pick up. You literally pick up the weapons, you just have to take out waves of enemies. And it's really good for people who just aren't really invested in story. They just want action. They just want something that they can pick up, put down, do a bit of killing, and continue on. So it's fantastic. It's probably the best entry in the series, I would say, having nearly finished it until I encountered quite a tricky boss.
Oh, really?
There's loads of playtime there as well. It's absolutely fantastic that you can get it on Game Pass.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Doom is one of those franchises I think all gamers will know of, but not necessarily all gamers have touched. And so it being on Game Pass, again, just allows you to jump in very quickly and very quickly decide whether or not this is for you, right? It is, I think, a very unique feeling game. It's not like Call of Duty, right? Just because it's a first-person shooter. It's totally different. It's almost a rhythm-based game at times, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's about learning these mechanics, learning how the jump works, learning how the speed boosts work, so that you can fly through these arenas and take out these enemies as cool, as flashy as possible.
And I think that's the thing is, like, it is difficult in parts, but it's got that fantastic feeling where it's like, it's challenged, what went wrong that first time that you did it. And so when you come back, to approach that situation different. So when you finally nail it, it feels fantastic because you are just picking up, the rhythm of each individual fight. Yeah, it's fantastic. And that music it gets you absolutely pumped.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Moving then on to our third pick. And again, kind of heading back towards that horror genre with Alien Isolation. Tell us a little bit about this one, Vic, why it deserves to be in these top 5 that we're talking through today.
Yeah, so as I said, I came into horror as a genre quite late because I didn't play them when I was younger, and a lot of people, I only saw Alien maybe about 10 years ago. So this was another one where I was like, look, I heard a lot of really good things. I was deep into Resi, really enjoying that. So I picked up Isolation, and it's fantastic. It's that same kind of very much you want to keep combat to a minimum, but you've got to creep through these situations knowing this iconic character is coming, is hunting you down. It's really intense, but also you don't really need to know a lot about Alien. Like, it's good if you know about Alien, this is a fantastic game for you, but also if you just want a stealth horror, like survival game, you can still get away with that without needing to know a whole lot about that franchise. So I think it's fantastic, especially if you love games like Resi, and I wouldn't have picked up if it hadn't been on Game Pass, where I thought, I'll just try it, see what it's like, and it just absolutely hooked me.
For sure. I think this is one that, it passed me by a little bit when it came out, but I think it passed a lot of people by, a couple of reasons. Probably firstly that typically games that tie into movies aren't very good, and this one doesn't specifically tie into a movie, but obviously a very well-known movie franchise. And then obviously the Alien game that came before this, Colonial Marines, had that incredible sort of reputation for being just god-awful. And so I think a lot of people saw this coming down the pipe and thought, well, I'm going to totally ignore another Alien game that's coming out. But like you say, it's on Game Pass. It's worth jumping into for, within the first hour, I guess you're going to know whether or not this game is for you or not. And again, it's kind of one of those shorter experiences as well, right? I think like roughly 10 hours-ish, I think.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but it is one that I would warn against if you have epilepsy or anything like that. There is a lot of flashing in that. I got to a point in it where there was a lot of flashing lights, and it almost curbed my ability to play a bit.
Right.
And I haven't got anything like that. So if you've got a lot of photosensitivity, there is a point where you might have a bit of difficulty with the game. But yeah, generally it's great. Even up until that point, I've had a great time with it. So it's just trying to work out those kind of tweaks and things, but it is just something I would warn about.
Brilliant. Well, then doing a complete 180 into a completely different genre for all you racing fans out there, Forza, of course, a massive franchise on the Xbox platform and available on Game Pass. Tell us a little bit about this one, Vic.
So Forza is like one of Xbox's long-running veteran series that it does really well. Like, Xbox is generally known for doing a good shooter and a good racing game, and Forza Horizon 4 is just that. It's really interesting because I'm not a huge racing fan, but it blends this kind of open world that you're wanting to explore with racing. So even if like you're not as invested in the actual racing itself, just wanting to explore the world, like it's based in Britain, so you're driving through like beautiful English countryside, and then in points you're going through, the cobbled streets of Edinburgh. So it is a beautiful game to take in just for the environment. So even if you're not a big racing fan, I would advise just playing it so that you can see what racing games can be. So even if it's not for you, maybe just take a dabble. And that's the great thing about Game Pass, is you can just dabble in it it without spending a fortune, especially with potentially a new Forza Horizon coming in the future. Not confirmed, but it looks like it'd be quite likely.
Yeah, a lot of rumors, people saying it might even come within sort of this year, within 2021, so that'd be exciting indeed. But I think you mentioned it there briefly. This is a great showcase for what your next generation console can do, right? If you've picked up the Xbox Series S or X and you're new to this system and you've got Game Pass and you're wondering, what can I do to show off my new TV, the 4K, all the frames? This is the one, right? Like these games just look phenomenal on the new consoles.
And Forza Horizon, I think, has been optimized for if you are playing on those new consoles.
Yeah.
So it looked great anyway, but it looked even better on Series X.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then going now to a game that doesn't take its graphics too seriously, but is a hell of a lot of fun, Sea of Thieves. So this has been out for a long time and been on Game Pass now for a long time. And I think Game Pass really saved this game, right? It's one of these games of service that launched in not the greatest shape. People didn't really meld with it too much, but it's really found an audience on Game Pass. So give us a little bit of background on Sea of Thieves, Vic.
So Sea of Thieves is, an open world multiplayer online like pirate game, essentially. You are a pirate, you create your pirate character, and then you take to the seas to, depending what type of pirate fantasy you want to live out, whether you want to go searching for treasure, whether you want to, be shuffling goods back and forward across the sea, or whether you just want to go mess up some fellow pirates, that you can do that. And the thing about Sea of Thieves is I would advise that it's better to play with others. Like 100%. You can play alone and you can have your own little sloop, but it's nowhere near as fun. What is fun about Sea of Thieves is teaming up with your friends and the absolute chaos that, well, for the Tech Radar team, that is what has happened.
Yep.
Chaos anytime that we have all teamed up, and there's constantly new content for that. So really, getting on Game Pass means that you're getting the access, and then a lot of that free DLC is kind of rolling out to you as well. It's constantly being updated. It's fantastic fun, and the fact that is if your friends also have Game Pass, then they can play too.
Yeah.
And I think it's been privy to a bit of an optimization on the next gen consoles as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But and again, the beauty of Game Pass, right, is that if your friends are in this ecosystem, it basically doesn't cost you anything, right? Like you could say to them, hey, drop £1 on your first month of Game Pass and play Sea of Thieves with me. It's so low barrier to entry. And now is a great time to jump into this game as well. They've just kind of last month or so had a rework of their kind of storyline system and stuff like that. They've introduced seasons. And so it's a really great time to jump in to this very social game. Like you say, a big part of it is sort of going to the mainland, going to the pub, figuring out what your next objective is, and then setting sail with your mates. And so, yeah, maybe not one to check out if you're on your own, but if you can jump in with a couple of friends, it's well worth checking out. So that kind of sets aside our list of the kind of top 5 games, if you like, we'd recommend you should be playing right now. Like you say, check out that first link in the description to Vic's full guide of, I think, 30 games. But Vic, before we close out, I just want to quickly touch on the future of Game Pass. So we've recently heard in the past week that Outriders is coming to Game Pass day one, which is a huge get for Xbox and that game, I think. We've already chatted a little bit about Outriders. If you want to see our full impressions of the demo, I'll put, again, a link in the description so you can check that out. But what does that mean for a game like Outriders, do you think? How big of a get do you think this is?
I think that if you take kind of the Sea of Thieves foundation, where, as you said, it was a bit of a rocky start. And for those online multiplayer games, it really is a big win, because if you're paying for that on your own, you're paying like what, £50-60, and then you need your friend to get the full enjoyment. You need them to then agree to pay that money.
Yeah.
And Outriders has offered a demo, which means people have decided whether they want to. But Game Pass means that nobody needs to outright buy this game. They can all just actually jump in as part of the subscription. And if everyone kind of has Game Pass, then you can do that. So I think it's going to be a big boom for that game. It's really going to help.
I think you're absolutely right. This is the Sea of Thieves treatment that this game needed. At the end of the day, these games of service, I know Outriders isn't quite a games of service, but these multiplayer focused games need an audience. They need people playing it to survive. And so it coming to Game Pass day one, I mean, these servers are going to get slammed now because people are going to be jumping in on day one that wouldn't necessarily have been before. So I think it's huge for a game like this.
Yeah, it also means that when it comes to, especially, you can see it as well with Sea of Thieves and Destiny and things like that, where you can play the game and, if you want to go all in, you can pay the extra money for like real life money if you want to get a bit extra
Sure.
on that. But if you want just the experience straight up, then you can do that too. I think it's a fantastic move, and it's one of just a few fantastic games that are going to be coming to Game Pass over the next while. I think that service has slowly been creeping up. People know it's good value, but it's becoming a must-have in especially recent months, and I think by the end of the year it's going to be the absolute must-have service.
Absolutely. A couple of other highlights that are coming in sort of the near future. Undertale coming, a huge game. Again, aesthetically one of those games that I think probably wouldn't have brought a lot of people in, but so many people were talking about that game for Game of the Year when it first released. Halo, obviously, as well. Halo Infinite has been delayed, but we know that is coming to Game Pass on day one. So again, one of those huge franchises people are going to be excited about. And then, of course, recently as well, the acquisition of Bethesda and ZeniMax went through for Xbox, and they had a sort of a round table and talked about the future of those games. They said that those games wouldn't necessarily be exclusive straight away, that they're going to honor the contracts that are in place for future Bethesda games, but also then the sort of far-flung future Bethesda games will be exclusive to platforms that host Xbox Game Pass, which is an exciting thing for a lot of people to hear. We don't know exactly how that shakes out with stuff like Starfield and Elder Scrolls, but that's a huge get for Xbox, right?
Yeah, that's a fantastic get, because Xbox have got some great exclusives, but a lot of those franchises that are great exclusives, they are veteran franchises. Mm-hmm. So you've got, Gears of War, and you've got Halo. And so the Bethesda ones are still going to be, veteran franchises, but it, expands that exclusive range that Xbox has. As you said, we don't know if Starfield and the Elder Scrolls are necessarily going to be exclusive. But future Bethesda games, apart from that, it looks like they are going to land on Xbox PC platforms.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic get. Yeah,
exactly.
At least it seems that way. We don't know. They haven't entirely clarified exactly what we're going to expect. And we will see Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. They're still going to land on PS5 as initially planned. But even Xbox now adding, a load of Bethesda games to Game Pass, it makes it a fantastic platform for, if you are a Bethesda fan, if you love Fallout, if you love Doom, if you love Elder Scrolls, all those fan bases that are really quite loyal. So yeah, if you're a fan like me of Bethesda games, then Game Pass is going absolutely a must-have for the future.
Exactly. And I think it's brilliant as well, like Todd Howard, who's kind of in charge over there at ZeniMax and stuff, talked about how he sees the potential of Game Pass and stuff like this, right? And really sees the benefit of it. And I think for them as well, it brings in a load of new fans, right? People who were maybe too young to play Oblivion when it came out. It's so worth checking out. It's one of those games that I love, right? Like, I think it was my probably first Bethesda game. And so maybe I do view it with a little bit of rose-tinted glasses, but I'm so excited to go back to Oblivion on my Series S and play some of that game again, because I had so much fun with it back in the day. I'm thrilled to go back. But yeah, like games like Fallout 3 and New Vegas and stuff like this, games that are kind of legendary in the gaming space, but maybe some games were too young to pick up when they first came out, sort of brings those people in, right, nice and easy, and makes them into Bethesda fans. So it'll be exciting to see what comes next from there. So there it is, guys. Please do drop a comment down below. Let us know what you're playing on Game Pass right now, or maybe you're still a bit up in the air as to whether or not you're going to pick up Game Pass. Let us know your thoughts in those comments down below. Remember to like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to TechRadar on YouTube if you loved it. So we'll see you on the next one. And finally, remember to head over to techradar.com for the latest tech news and reviews. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.